any similar issues where you are?
I haven't heard concrete information on that, but certainly there are always concerns with septic systems when you have a lot of water coming in. And that, again, is some of the information that we're trying to gather so that we can have a better understanding, a better picture of exactly what is happening on the ground. And that, of course, is challenging because even to get to some of these places right now is very, very difficult, if not impossible, on the ground.
Eric Thompson, an information officer with the Regional District of the Okanagan-Similkameen Emergency Operations Center in Penticton. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Anita, you know, we've just been talking about the information that we're getting. We were trying to figure out exactly how many people were stranded on that Highway 7 right between Agassiz and Hope. And so we did get that confirmation a short while ago that it is 275 people, including 50 children that have been, you know, sort of sheltering in their cars overnight. Their spirits have been pretty good, a couple of people that we've seen on our network today, but that the situation is so serious, Anita, that they're going to have to airlift these folks out, and that they're assessing how to do that. But 275 people just trapped in their vehicles, and the only way out, it would appear to be, is with members of the Canada Task Force 1. 34 members have been deployed, and maybe more, and this could take some time.
Well, it's pretty incredible that they've been able to actually stay in their vehicle for this long. I imagine it's very cold. Yep. You don't want to get out because it's pouring rain and the elements around you are not great. But you're right, you know, you said they're in good spirits. And that's one thing that's really been amazing for me to hear and to see. You talk to all of them and they're all helping each other out, and they know they're going to get through this, and they're not panicking. I think that's pretty incredible.
No, you're absolutely right. You know, I was saying that when somebody had a dog and there was no dog food, but someone else had some dog food, you hear about how they're just trying to keep the spirits up, that some people are low on fuel, some people are okay, so they're sharing fuel, they're sharing some food and water. You know, Paul Deal, one of the people that's trapped there with his two boys and his wife, was saying that, yeah, we've just been, you know, they've been watching Netflix. It was actually not so cold. It was a little cool overnight, but it's been warmer today. You know, while their spirits are up and everything has been going okay, it would appear as though there is a sense of urgency, right? You can't just have people in their cars in different stages of whether it's fuel or food. And then, of course, there's the concern, you know, you've had 2 landslides there on either side of you. At what point does it become a danger as we move forward?
Well, and as Lindsay mentioned, I think this is the top priority for public safety officials. They want to get those people out as quick as they can, but the problem is always the fact that there are those winds and that rain still coming down, and you got to make sure that crew members are safe. I did hear from one evacuee who was talking about that, the concern that another landslide could come down. Are they safe? So while they are in good spirits, they are still, concerned because they're at the mercy of the elements. No one knows what could happen, and things keep piling on and piling on and piling on, and it doesn't seem like the situation's getting better. Yeah. You know, and it could get worse before it gets better. You know
BC's geography a little better than I do. So for our national audience that's watching this, Anita, can you just give us a sense of where this is? Where is this area between Agassiz and Hope on Highway 7? Where are these people trapped in their cars?
Yeah, so Agassiz and Hope, that area is probably about an hour and a half outside of Vancouver along Highway 1. You know, it's the main route to get out of Vancouver, the Lower Mainland, Metro Vancouver, and get into the interior. So anybody who is over there is going to be trapped. All of the highways coming into the Lower Mainland are closed. And anyone here, you know, we have a friend visiting from Kamloops, and he's stuck here until he can get back home. Thankfully, he's safe. So it's really actually not very far from the city at all. And, you know, we saw a vet in Abbotsford. Abbotsford's only about 50 minutes from downtown Vancouver, and that's where things are really quite bad if we're looking at the urban centers, for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, Anita, I was speaking with our colleague, Yvette Brandon, in Abbotsford, and she was outside. I couldn't believe it. The scene behind her was of a farm, and it looked like a river. I didn't realize that it wasn't a river. She's like, that is not a river. That is just overflowing water that has now become river from all of these slides, from the immense amount of rain. Can you give us a context in terms of just, there's been so much rain. I mean, you live in Vancouver. I know you're used to lots of rain, but this has just been an unbelievable amount of rain, even for the lower mainland, for southern British Columbia, just in the last 24, 36, 48 hours, right?
Well, I've never seen anything like this. And, Yvette was on those farms in Abbotsford. Well, I come from a farming family also in Abbotsford, and our blueberries are completely underwater as well. And my dad said he's never seen anything like this in all his time farming out there. This is really unprecedented, and it comes after we've been hit with a lot of things this year. A devastating heat dome where more than 500 people were killed, wildfires where people were forced from their home. They're still out of their homes. So it seems like British Columbia has just been battered this year by several different storms.
Yeah, I mean, that is unbelievable. I did not know that you grew up in a farming community right around there. That looks like a very challenging situation there. I was also talking with Lindsay, and maybe you can tell us a little bit more, because, I mean, there are only so many ways in and out of the biggest city in British Columbia, of course, Vancouver, where you are. And so it would appear as though that, a lot of these routes, never mind the imminent concern, of course, of those 275 people on Highway 7 that they need to get out of there, other people in Merritt and other towns that have had to evacuate their homes. But there's also, I mean, there's so many major routes that are blocked in and out of Vancouver. I mean, that must also be a concern just in terms of, trucks full of food getting in and out. I mean, this has got to be a concern.
Well, and I don't think we've heard too much from truckers on the road at this point, but I can only imagine that there's got to be big trucks full of supplies stuck on these routes. That's a major thoroughfare for carrying supplies into the rest of the province. So this is really a big problem for not just the people who are stranded in between the mudslides, but also our supply chain, which we already know has a lot of problems. So I think the focus really is on getting this fixed as fast as we can, although you look at these images right here, and you got to wonder, how is it even possible to get this fixed in the next couple of days? Even it's going to take a lot of manpower, but the focus really is a priority on getting those people who are trapped in those cars out as quickly as possible. And then, of course, we're going to have to look at moving those goods and making sure everything can get back to normal from there. But look at this image. I mean, that mud on that highway, that is going to take a long time to clear, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Anita, we've also been talking about Merritt. That had an evacuation order that was issued just a short time ago, a couple of hours ago. That's about 200 kilometers east of Vancouver. Floodwaters there have overwhelmed the wastewater treatment plant, causing it to fail. And more than 7,000 people live in Merritt. And for more on the rapid changing situation in Merritt, BC, we've reached Jake Kortepat. He is the editor of the Merritt Herald, and it has covered this region since 1905. Jake, where are you? What's going on in Merritt right now?
I'm still in Merritt, actually. First of all, thanks for having me, Andrew. I'm still in Merritt, planning on leaving right after this interview. But yeah, it's. I know that you've used the word unprecedented a lot today, but it is. You have to just keep using it. It's like the fire season. There's no other word to use it, which is ironic that was a fire season. Now this is too much rain, but I've only lived in Merritt for 2 years. But there's a lot of people here that have lived here 60, 70 years, and just like fire season, they've told me this morning that it's unprecedented. They've never seen anything like it. There's really no other word to use.
Well, it's really hard to believe, I would say, but what changes have you had to make because of all this? I mean, the city is asking residents not to run water, flush the toilet, or run any taps.
Well, and that's the thing with the wastewater management plants failing. That's why they've given us the evacuation order that just came down an hour or so ago, is because you can't run your taps, you can't flush your toilet. It's not a livable situation. So not only are people's lives in danger just from the water itself, but you can't live without tap water, without flushing your toilet, any of that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much the reason why the evacuation order ended up going down and why everyone's now forced to leave town.
So, Jake, now you're covering this story. You're living it. You're in real time. You're about to evacuate. Are you able to get out safely, and where are you going to go?
Yes, so the Coquihalla between Hope and Merritt has been shut down because of landslides. Going west to Highway 1 to the Trans-Canada shut down because of landslides. But people are being asked, and you're still able to at this moment, you can go north to Kamloops and you can go east to Kelowna. So those are kind of the two thoroughfares that are still available at the moment. Things could change on a dime, like we've seen this morning. But right now, people can go to Kamloops and then go to Kelowna and register at the emergency, the evacuation services centers there. So that's where the city of Merritt has told people to go. Either go east to Kelowna or go north to Kamloops.
Jake, you mentioned, just 5 months ago you were dealing with temperatures in the high 40s. Tell me about a little bit more about what kind of toll this is taking on you and your neighbors. All of these things happening so close together.
Well, it's tough on everyone, right? And it's, like I said, it's unprecedented. Just keep using that word. But I think with the fire season, with what happened today, people now realize if there's an evacuation order, you leave. When we had the evacuation order for the fires, people were just like, no, I'm not going to go anywhere. And now you realize if there's an evacuation order, you get out of town. So the same people the people that I talked to this morning, at least when I was still at the office, the same people that back in fire season would have said they weren't going to leave, now are just like, yep, there's an order. I'm going to get out of town. I'm going to bug out and go stay with family, go register at the emergency services centers. I think people are a lot more prepared now just because of fire season. So I don't know. It's a lot to deal with.
Jake,
whether you're in the journalism industry or any industry, it's a lot to deal with.
Jake, I know you were right in the thick of it, and you're also covering it, which is kind of unusual to both be living the story and telling the story. But are you hearing anything about complaints that people say, why weren't we warned about this? I mean, all of a sudden, there's this major weather event that seems to be affecting a huge part of the province of British Columbia with all these landslides, a water treatment plant that is overflowing and has failed. I mean, what are you hearing about that?
With the wastewater treatment plant, it's something that the city of Merritt's never dealt with before. In terms of why things went wrong, it's something that I'm going to have to dig into more. Right now, everything's still so new. But it's something that people have just never dealt with before. It's like the fire season. Measures were put in place after it happened. And I think the same thing is going to happen here. Is measures are going to have to be put in place because of this event.
Jake Kurtapot is the editor of the Merritt Herald. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Okay, thanks for having me.
You're watching special coverage of the flooding and mudslides here in British Columbia. Sarah Galashan joins us next with the latest developments. We're back with much more in a moment on CBC News Network.
Welcome back to our CBC News Special on the flooding and mudslides in southern British Columbia. I'm Andrew Nichols. Thank you for joining us. CBC Vancouver News host Anita Bath is hosting along with me. This is, of course, a national story, but especially important for our viewers in British Columbia, Anita, as we are trying to provide our viewers with as much information about this major breaking news that is happening as we watch and is developing almost by the minute.
Yeah, things are changing very quickly. You know, 1 minute something's happening, the next minute we're hearing about rescues, which we'll get into in a moment. Dangerous flooding and mudslides have stranded motorists and forced thousands of people from their homes. Let's take a look at the situation right now. There are flood watches and warnings in place for most of southern BC, including Vancouver Island. The areas in red are the hardest hit. Rivers have run over their banks there, or if they haven't, they soon will, and that will result in major flooding. There are multiple situations unfolding throughout the province of British Columbia. The mass evacuation of the city of Merritt, 100 vehicles, possibly more, trapped by mudslides along Highway 7 and dangerously high rivers and pooling water. That's all causing flooding throughout the Fraser Valley as well and other parts of BC. The CBC's breaking news reporter Sarah Galashan is watching all of this for us. Sarah, let's start with the people stranded on the highways. We now know there will be an airlift mission to get them out.
That's right, Anita. And of course, they're going to be assessing, we were told they were going to be assessing how dangerous it would be to do an airlift. And part of the dangers related to an airlift would be the wind. I want to just say that I'm in Coquitlam right now, and Anita, as you know, so I'm about an hour away, let's say, from where this is happening. We have already, and I say the last 20 minutes, seen the rain dry up here and the winds. We were told they were going to pick up, and they certainly are. I'm watching treetops to the side of me, and I'm just going to pan over here in the event we get another gust. At times, I'm seeing these treetops actually almost hit sideways. The wind is so strong at times, and we're expecting that wind is going to continue to pick up. So we know that that is going to be part of an issue that they are facing in terms of trying to airlift these 275 people, 50 children among them, who have been stranded in these cars between these two debris activities, as they're referred to officially, since some of them since 7:30 p.m. last night. Wind is an issue, but we understand that this is going to be taking place using military helicopters. They will be airlifting them out of the area where they have been stranded, taking them to Agassiz, where there will be an area set up, and there will be help available to them so they can dry off, rest, and hopefully somehow make their way back to home, though their cars, of course, will remain stranded in that area. Anita?
And so, Sarah, it's Andrew here. You know, you're talking about the situation with the 275 people. That is quite the imminent situation. But then there's also this, thousands of people in the town of Merritt that there's an evacuation order for the entire city. Imagine, as the wastewater treatment plant, it just overflowed, failed, and it was no longer safe for people to be in the city because of it. Tell us more.
And this was 2.5 hours ago. This was 2,000 people who had been evacuated. And it was a don't flush, don't run the water, certainly don't drink or cook with the water. And there were warnings that it could expand to the entire town. And now it has. We're talking about more than 7,000 people who need to be evacuated. And to that, I know you just spoke with someone who is about to leave. There is some information coming from the town in terms of those who are needing to evacuate. There's a statement that was posted on Twitter, and you can put it up there, and I will paraphrase some of the information that's in it. Basically, if you have family or friends that are elsewhere outside of Merritt, they are urging you to go and make arrangements to stay with those people. Preferably, though, to the north, because getting out of Merritt southbound because of highway closures, the closure of the Coquihalla, that is a near impossible, certainly dangerous. So they are advising people to go toward Kamloops or Kelowna. Now, if you don't have individuals to stay with, then this is what's important for you to know. If you are in an even-numbered house, then you make your way to Kelowna. If you're an odd-numbered address in Merritt, then you make your way to Kamloops, where they are setting up facilities in order to help look after people who will need to be evacuated and need places to stay, need things to eat. Presumably, you'll be able to pack some stuff in your car, but make sure you have a full tank of gas. Make sure you are prepared, because this is a very active situation. We are seeing, and you can see helicopters. I don't know if you can hear that behind me, but we are already seeing helicopters in the air now. Perhaps those are the ones that are out there trying to survey the damage, because, as I say, the rain has stopped. But winds, Andrew, are picking up. And as I say, it's an active situation. So if you do have to hit the road, get on a highway in order to find somewhere safe to be, make sure you have the supplies and the gasoline in the event that you do become stranded or because there's a sudden closure.
Absolutely. We know now the supplies are key. Now, you touched on some highway closures there, but there are a number of other highway closures. What's the latest?
So, I just checked Drive BC a few minutes ago. I counted at least 45 what they're calling major road events. Now, some of these are, scheduled maintenance, but very few. Most of what we're talking about here are highway closures, many times in both directions because of flooding, and it's happening quite suddenly. We have rivers rising, we have pooling water on the roadways, and so highways are having to be closed. We're seeing this happening on the island, on Vancouver Island, in several locations as well. I lost track of how many places within the Fraser Valley we're seeing this as well. And additionally, another mudslide that I want to note here along Highway 99 near Lillooet. We're not expecting another update on the situation there, but that has closed Highway 99 near Lillooet. Another update on that probably coming within an hour or so. So we are watching that one closely, but very active. Once again, you're advised to stay home and not drive anywhere if you possibly can. But if you do have to get on the road, make sure you go prepared and look at Drive BC. That is the site that people in British Columbia can look to find out where those closures are happening.
All right. Thanks, Sarah.
You bet.
And Anita, we're learning that the Prime Minister has tweeted, and this is what Justin Trudeau had to say to the people of Merritt and to all British Columbians affected by the flooding. Please stay safe. And as Minister of Emergency Preparedness Bill Blair said, we're ready to provide whatever assistance is needed as you deal with and recover from the flooding and this extreme weather. We're here for you. And so, Anita, we know that there is going to be the involvement of, I'm just trying to get the exact name of it. It's the Heavy Urban Search and Rescue Team. So this Canada Task Force 1 is what they are calling this. And this is these Chilliwack helicopters that are going to be used in this airlift of as many as 275 people, 50 children that are stuck on that Highway 7. So many things to cover in this story, but that's certainly something that is more of an imminent concern probably, just in terms of people that are in their cars that are stuck between these two landslides on that stretch of highway. They just feel that that just can't go on and on. They need to get them out.
Well, that is the top priority. That's what they've said. The Heavy Urban Search and Rescue Team is working hard to get those people out. And then they'll worry about clearing the roads and trying to move on and make sure that everything else is settled and that goods are moved. But really, it's those people who have been trapped now, some of them overnight for a lot of hours. So at this point, the question is, how much longer can they actually hold on and sit in their cars for? They're obviously running out of food. We know people have been helping each other out, but really the situation is dire for them and they need to be rescued soon, and that is the priority. We do have a lot more coming up, though. It's called an atmospheric river, and that's what's pounding southern BC right now. We're going to tell you what BC officials are saying about the damage it's caused and the work that's being done to free those motorists that are trapped by the mudslides. That's just ahead here on this CBC News Network special.
Hello, I'm Andrew Nichols. This is a CBC News Special on breaking news out of British Columbia. Flooding and landslides have stranded motorists and forced thousands of people from their homes.
And I'm Anita Bath. About 275 people are stranded in their vehicles along a southern British Columbia highway that includes 50 children. It's all due to dangerous mudslides. The mudslides were triggered by heavy rain and flooding. Much of the region is under flood watches and warnings, and as much as 230 millimeters of rain could hit the area by the end of the day. Officials say there are 2 mudslides on the highway, which are complicating rescue efforts. So far, more than a dozen people have been pulled to safety. Police in Abbotsford, BC, are telling people to stay home. That's about 45 minutes to an hour outside of downtown Vancouver. And there is flooding in the community, and some roads are washed out.
What I encourage people to do is, if you don't have to go out today, if you don't need to go to work, you don't need to go out for groceries, please stay home. Let the emergency service workers that are in the community adapt and get more of a handle on the roads and keep them clear and free. If you are going out, please lower your speed. Don't go and drive down roads that have water running across it. Well, if you can't see what's underneath that water, some of the roads maybe have 6 inches of water. Some of the roads may be washed out as you start driving through, and now you're going down 20 feet. So what it kind of affects is you are putting yourself at risk by driving down there. You are trapped in your vehicle. Your electronics might stop. Your windows might not open. If you don't have a window breaker, you might not get out. As well, it puts the emergency service workers that are out there trying to manage this and doing an awesome job at that right now at risk to now go into that waterway, try to get you out, and there's a lot of factors that play there.
Police say they have set up barriers blocking access to roads that are flooded, but some of the barriers have blown down, leaving the roads open. They're asking drivers to avoid those roads and contact emergency services about any damaged or blown over barriers. Julia Murray has been stuck in her vehicle since 7:30 last night. She's on Highway 7 between Agassiz and Hope. She says she and her companion are cold, wet, and tired, but holding up.
Where the Agassiz slide is, I think there was like 3 or 4 cars that had gotten pulled in, and there were people yelling for help last night, and it was really hard to sleep because car alarms were going off that got sucked into the river, and I was just super worried about the people that were getting rescued down there, but I think everybody got out okay. And but yeah, we can basically see just the Agassiz slide, and we did drive down just to see the other one towards Hope, and it's a little bit better, but I don't see us getting cleared out of here anytime soon. So last night I was really concerned that there was going to be like a possible another slide, just because we do have a couple of waterfalls along the mountainside in front of us. But I think it was a traffic control person moved us down to this side and said to park close to the median and close to the other cars, so just to keep protected. And I think we're okay so far. It's been good, but now that we're kind of up and alert, I think it's best that we stay up and alert. I'm just hoping I don't know, they get some supplies in here somehow, or I saw that they were driving along the train track, so maybe that truck can possibly get close by to us, just to bring some water or something. I don't know. No idea what's going to happen next. It's kind of a mystery to us. We're just really hoping that we get some kind of update with a plan and what's going to happen next.
Julia says there are several semi-trucks behind them and more than 100 vehicles in front. Much more ahead. Rescue efforts are underway on a highway in British Columbia's Fraser Valley. Up to 100 vehicles could be trapped by mudslides triggered by torrential rains. Search and rescue crews are working to get to the highway near Agassiz as the rain continues to pound the area. Earlier today, British Columbia's public safety minister provided this update on the situation.
Over the weekend, BC experienced an atmospheric river event caused by heavy rain and localized flooding. Multiple rain-induced incidents have been occurring in the southwest and central regions of the province. The situation is dynamic. The province has been in continual contact with local governments and working to support those affected. Overnight, around 80 to 100 vehicles became trapped between landslides on Highway 7 near Agassiz. Heavy search and rescue teams have been deployed to assist, and we are looking at the possibility of air rescue if needed. High winds may challenge these efforts. In addition, flooding has led to evacuation alerts and orders in the Fraser Valley, as well as significant impacts to the wastewater treatment plant in Merritt. Merritt residents cannot use any water, including running faucets or flushing toilets, until further notice. Close to 2,000 people have already been evacuated from Merritt, and if required, the entire community may have to be evacuated. We are setting up supports in Kelowna and Kamloops.
Government officials say the province's wet conditions over the past 2 months have contributed to the flooding and mudslides that are happening now. They also say dropping temperatures and high winds will follow after the rains move on.
Stay tuned for continuing coverage of the situation in BC. The latest is coming up on the rundown and then on Power and Politics. And tonight, The National will have special coverage of the flooding situation in this province. Ian Hanumansing will be hosting from Abbotsford. He'll speak with those affected by the mudslides and heavy rain in the area, as well as the emergency response team about next steps. That's happening at 9 p.m. Eastern on CBC News Network.
And Anita, we appreciate your co-hosting with us today. Anita Bath, co-hosting with us on this flooding situation. And Anita, you know, what we've been talking about is there are so many different aspects to this story, but we have been talking about the Canada Task Force, right, where they are now, that we know that they've rescued 12 people that were trapped by this debris overnight. There's 275 people still there in that area between Agassiz and Hope. And there are going to be multiple flights with Chilliwack choppers that are going to be going in and out and getting those people out of there, because it seems as though this is the only way they're going to get them out.
Yeah, when you say multiple, it really is going to be dozens and dozens of flights because, yes, 275 people trapped in their cars. That includes 50 children. You can only imagine how this is actually going to work with all of those choppers coming in. It's going to take a long time. What's happening here in British Columbia is unprecedented. Most people say they've never seen anything like it. You know, it's not only that the highways and the mudslides are happening, we're also seeing drainage systems overflowing in urban city centers, people's basements flooding. Everybody here is affected in some way. Our coverage of the flooding and landslides in southern British Columbia continues in just a moment.
the breaking news out of BC.